Have you ever stopped to wonder why some people effortlessly earn millions of dollars while others toil their entire lives and still barely make ends meet? It seems unfair, doesn't it? But what if I told you that effort isn't the key? That hard work might even be your biggest hindrance. Absurd? Contradictory? Yes, but it's precisely this kind of shock that opens your mind to see the truth. Wealth isn't a consequence of hours worked, but of how you program your mind. Have you ever noticed how even when you know what you need to do, you keep repeating the same mistakes when it comes to money? It's as if an invisible force is holding you in the same place. You know you should save, organize, invest better, maybe even start a new project. But day after day, you end up making the exact same choices, as if you're stuck in a script written long before you were born. The truth is, this has nothing to do with your intelligence or capability. It has to do with something much deeper, the paradigms that control your life. These paradigms are like a secret program installed in your subconscious, determining more than 90% of your decisions without you even realizing it. They are deeply rooted beliefs, repeated for years, coming from your family, school, and the culture in which you grew up. Perhaps you heard phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," "Only those who inherit get rich," or "You have to work yourself to death." Without noticing, these phrases transformed into silent laws governing your financial behavior. That's why, even if you want to prosper, a part of you insists on sabotaging every attempt at change. I lived this firsthand. For a long time, I earned only $4,000 per year and still carried a debt of $6,000. It was an endless cycle of overdue bills, disappointments, and the feeling that it would never be enough. And the most painful part was that I knew I needed to change, but I couldn't. Have you ever felt that? That empty pit in your stomach at the end of the month, when you realize all your efforts for the entire month have vanished into bills, debts, and interest? Have you ever wondered how people who studied less, who seem less prepared, manage to live with more abundance, while you, who try so hard, remain stuck? It's not a matter of deserving, but of vibration. Current psychological research shows that your emotional relationship with money is more critical for financial well-being than your level of formal education. Thousands of people with advanced degrees live in debt, while others who never finished school prosper, because they have a different mindset. It's not about how much you know, but about what you believe is possible for yourself. I remember nights when I couldn't sleep, worried about the pile of bills on the table. I told myself I needed to work more hours, but deep down, every effort seemed to push me further down, until I realized the problem wasn't the work, but the programming of my mind. As long as I vibrated with lack, more lack I attracted. It's like trying to tune into a radio station that doesn't play the music you want to hear. You can turn the dial the entire day, but as long as you're on the wrong frequency, the sound won't change. The great trap is believing that your financial life will be different just because you've decided to try one more time. How many times have you started a savings plan, a new course, a side project, only to abandon it halfway through? You didn't give up because you didn't want it enough, but because your subconscious told you it wasn't for you. Your mind was programmed to return to its comfort zone, even if that comfort was living in debt. The fear of change is the biggest obstacle. How many times have you thought, what if I lose everything? What if it doesn't work out? What if it's worse than it is now? These thoughts aren't your intuition. They're just echoes of old beliefs trying to keep you small. That's exactly where the invisible prison lies. Life doesn't change from the outside in, but from the inside out. As long as the paradigms aren't reprogrammed, the story remains the same, no matter how many times you restart. The question you need to ask yourself isn't, what should I do to earn more money? But rather, what beliefs have been preventing me from believing I deserve wealth? That is the root. Because it's useless to learn new financial strategies if, deep down, you still feel you aren't capable, don't deserve it, or that it's not for you. And when you carry that feeling, the world simply gives you more of the same experiences. The truth is, you're not alone. Millions of people live this way, stuck in jobs they don't love, afraid of losing the little they have, complaining about the end of the month, and believing it's just fate. But destiny is written by the mind. If you continue to vibrate in scarcity, that will be your reality. Now, if you decide to reprogram your beliefs, to open your mind to abundance, the scenario changes completely. And perhaps now you're feeling an internal conflict, as if one part of you believes in this possibility and another part says it's fantasy. This conflict is normal. It's the natural resistance of old paradigms. But if you've already noticed that, despite so much effort, nothing has changed so far, then you also know that continuing in the same way won't lead to different results. The first step is to recognize it's not a lack of intelligence, it's not the country's economy, it's not bad luck, it's your internal programming. And if it can be learned, it can also be rewritten. The block is within you, but the key is too. Nothing in my life changed until the day I decided to train my mind with repetition and emotion. It was at that moment I understood that the subconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to whatever is repeated enough times until it becomes natural. I started listening every day to my mentor's recordings, in the car, at home, during trips, on the plane, before bed. It reached a point where my brain no longer questioned, no longer resisted, but simply accepted those words as a new reality. At first, the idea of earning $25,000 per year seemed ridiculous, unattainable for someone barely getting out of debt. But after so much repetition, that image stopped being a distant fantasy and became something normal, almost inevitable. What happened next was precisely this. My income rose. In a short time, those $25,000 became $100,000 and later reached $1 million. Not because I had found a secret business formula, but because my subconscious was already prepared to receive those numbers. It had already accepted that they were part of my life. And this is where the most important point comes in. You never change through logic alone. How many times have you tried to convince yourself with rational arguments that you should save, invest, or change careers? But deep down, you ended up returning to the same old habits. This happens because logic is weak compared to the power of emotions imprinted on the subconscious. Only repetition, charged with feeling, creates new, deep connections. Think about how we learn to drive. In the beginning, every detail requires conscious attention. Mirror, gears, steering wheel, pedals. But after repeating enough, you get in the car and drive almost without thinking. The subconscious takes over. With money, it's the same thing. Until you program your subconscious to believe that earning, saving, and multiplying wealth is natural, you will continue to act like someone struggling to survive, even knowing you could prosper. I myself remember nights when I would write on a card, "I am so happy and grateful now that I earn $25,000 per year." At first, I didn't believe a word of it, but my mentor believed, and I decided to lean on his faith until mine was strong enough. This small exercise completely changed my life, because repetition with emotion creates a new identity. And when your identity changes, your results change with it. Many say they would like to attract more money, but they live repeating phrases like, "I never have luck. Money doesn't stay with me. It's too difficult." They don't realize that by repeating these phrases, they are hypnotizing themselves into believing them. And the subconscious, which doesn't distinguish between what is real and what is repeated, simply records and manifests. Have you ever noticed how those who always talk about debt always end up in debt? It's not a coincidence. It's programming. Now imagine if you started repeating a new idea daily. Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways. Imagine hearing this in your own recorded voice, every day, dozens of times. At first it might sound strange, but over time the subconscious begins to accept it. And when it accepts, your perception changes. You start seeing opportunities where before you only saw problems. You begin to make decisions that previously caused you fear. You act like someone who is already prosperous, and reality responds to this new state. Modern neuroscience research shows that the brain is plastic, that it reorganizes itself according to patterns of repetition. That's why constant practice changes not only your thoughts, but also your brain structure. You literally sculpt new connections that support new behaviors. If you repeat scarcity, you create networks of scarcity. If you repeat abundance, you create networks of abundance. It's science, not magic. I learned that everything begins with a simple choice. What do you decide to feed every day? Because whether you want to or not, you are already reprogramming yourself. Every repeated thought, every phrase spoken aloud, every emotion you constantly relive is a command to your mind, and it always obeys. The question is this: are you nurturing the programming that keeps you trapped, or the one that will unleash your true abundance? It was only when I took charge of this process that the impossible started to feel natural. What was once a distant wish transformed into a tangible outcome, not because external reality changed on its own, but because I first shifted internally. And when that happens, everything else inevitably falls into place. There's a principle most people overlook when it comes to attracting wealth. Nature abhors a vacuum. Whenever there's space, something comes to fill it. This is precisely what I experienced in a very tangible way. I recall a seminar where I had spoken about the importance of making space for the new, of letting go of what no longer served me. Returning home, I found my living room completely empty. Table, chairs, sofa, everything had been cleared out. When I asked what had happened, they replied matter-of-factly, "You said we needed to make room for the new, so we removed what no longer made sense." I was in shock at that moment, but soon realized the lesson. Better, more beautiful, more suitable furniture quickly appeared. It was living proof that when you release the old, the new inevitably emerges. What I most often see are people clinging to everything out of fear of loss. They hold on to jobs they detest, relationships that have lost their spark, clothes they haven't worn in years, objects that merely gather dust, and yet they wonder why they can't move forward. How can you expect abundance to flow if you don't create space for it to enter? Imagine trying to fill a glass already overflowing with murky water. No matter how much clean water you pour in, there will be no room for it. It's precisely the same with your financial and emotional life. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll just stick with this job until something better comes along"? And then 5, 10, 20 years went by and you're still there. How many times have you promised that once you had more money, you would finally invest in yourself but never took that step? This kind of thinking traps you. It's as if you're telling the universe, "I'm content with this, I can wait." And life believes you because the vibration you're emitting isn't one of desire, but of complacency. Detachment is frightening, I know. Saying no to something that's already a part of your daily routine can trigger fear because you have no guarantee of what will come next. But therein lies the power. The empty space attracts. It invites the new to manifest. When you get rid of what no longer serves you, you send a clear message: "I am ready for the next level." And the next level always appears. Physics explains this simply. Nature abhors a vacuum. If there's an open space, something emerges to occupy it. Think about the spaces in your home. An empty drawer will soon be filled with new items. A clear shelf quickly receives books, papers, mementos, and the same happens in the financial and emotional realms. When you release stagnant energy, new ideas, opportunities, and people find their way in. The most intriguing part is that often what arrives is far better than what you were trying to hold on to. It's the unexpected project that emerges when you finally leave that energy-draining job. It's the partnership opportunity that arises after you end a stagnant business relationship. It's the peace of mind that comes when you decide to say no to obligations that merely took up space and brought no growth. I distinctly remember a time when I had to make a tough decision, to leave behind a stable position and venture into the unknown. The fear was real, but it was also a sign that I was moving forward. The void I created was quickly filled by opportunities I never would have seen if I'd remained clinging to the old. It's this very void, which so many avoid, that paves the way for abundance. The challenge is simple yet powerful. Choose one area of your life and clear it out. It could be a drawer, a closet, your calendar, or even a relationship that no longer serves you. Get rid of what doesn't represent the life you aspire to live. This isn't just organization, it's a declaration of intent. By creating space, you're not merely throwing things out. You're sending the universe a clear invitation. I deserve the best, and I am prepared to receive it. Abundance doesn't arrive in environments saturated with fear, objects, obligations, and people who no longer contribute to your growth. It needs movement, flow. And when you have the courage to release what has already served its purpose, you create the perfect conditions for the new and better to come into your life. It's at that moment you realize that letting go isn't a loss, it's preparation. It's about opening space for life to deliver what was always meant for you, but couldn't enter while you were busy holding on to what no longer served. Money isn't just paper or numbers in a bank account, it's energy in motion, constantly responding to the frequency you emit. Einstein famously said that everything is energy, and that includes your emotions, your thoughts, and your deepest beliefs. At the beginning of my journey, I only thought about debts. Every time I looked at my situation, my mind was fixated on what was missing, on what I didn't have. And the result was predictable: more scarcity, more debt, more frustration. The universe merely reflected back the vibration I was emitting. That's when I decided to shift my focus. I started to play with numbers, quite literally. I'd take a calculator and begin to imagine what it would be like to earn $10,000 per month, $100,000 per year, and $1 million in 5 years. At first, it felt like a game of make-believe, but over time, these figures stopped being intimidating and began to sound natural, familiar. And that's precisely where the secret lies. The subconscious needs to become accustomed to abundance before it can manifest. As long as you treat large sums as something distant, unattainable, your body itself reacts with fear, tension, and anxiety. But when those numbers become normal in your mind, you start to see opportunities that were always around you but were previously invisible. It's like changing a radio station. You don't create the music, you merely tune into the frequency that was already in the air. Behavioral psychology research proves that people who speak about money in a positive and confident way tend to make better financial decisions and recover more quickly from crises. This happens because your mind, by focusing on flow rather than scarcity, activates brain areas linked to creativity and problem solving. When you speak about money with ease, when you believe it's an ally, you place yourself in a position of power. Conversely, when you constantly speak of debt, lack, and crisis, you reinforce the vibration of scarcity, and your subconscious only seeks evidence to confirm it. I experienced this shift very clearly myself. After accustoming my mind to figures that once intimidated me, I began to notice unexpected invitations, projects emerging out of nowhere, and people presenting me with valuable ideas. And it wasn't luck. It was merely the natural, energetic response to the new vibration I was emitting. When you believe money is scarce, you live preoccupied with how you'll pay the bills at the end of the month. But when you begin to believe it's abundant, your demeanor shifts. You start to ask, how can I make money work for me? Instead of merely, how will I survive until the next paycheck? This simple shift in mindset opens doors that once seemed locked. Ask yourself, how do you speak about money in your daily life? Do you speak with ease, confidence, and gratitude, or with fear, desperation, and resentment? The way you answer that question precisely reveals the frequency you're emitting, and the universe, neutral as ever, simply reflects back what you transmit. If you want abundance, you first need to vibrate with abundance. This means becoming accustomed to the idea that receiving more is natural, that you deserve to prosper, and that money doesn't have to be a constant struggle but can be a continuous flow. The more you shift this vibration, the more you realize that opportunities were always there, simply waiting for you to tune into the correct frequency. And when that happens, the numbers that once seemed impossible cease to be a distant goal and become part of your everyday reality. Money begins to respond naturally, not because the world has changed, but because you've changed the energy you emit. Nothing is more powerful than a true desire, one that originates from the soul, not merely from the mind. I vividly remember a period in my life when I was alone, without partners, without significant resources, with just an idea that to many seemed impossible: to share with the world the knowledge that had transformed my life. It was 1973, and the vision I held seemed absurd even to me at times, but I treated it as a sacred treasure. Every day, I kept this idea alive within me, nourishing it with all my energy, faith, and emotion. Gradually, people began to gravitate towards me, as if drawn by that same vibration. First came unexpected collaborators, then pivotal partners who helped expand the work, until that idea, which once seemed an isolated spark, became a global movement. This is the power of ardent desire. It sustains you when fear tries to paralyze, when criticisms emerge, when everything around you seems to say it won't work out. It's this invisible force that transforms the impossible into reality. Just look at great examples from history. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before he created the electric light bulb. What kept him going? It wasn't logic nor external guarantees. It was an unshakable desire to illuminate the world, to see his idea come to fruition, no matter the cost. Burning desire isn't just about wanting something, it's about living as if it were indispensable. It's feeling deep within yourself that it's not just a dream but a vital necessity. Have you ever had a desire so strong that it felt like your life would be meaningless without it? It's that kind of desire that moves mountains, that creates paths where there were only walls, that attracts the right people, the right resources, and the right opportunities. And what's most interesting is that the universe responds according to the intensity of that vibration. When you desire something superficially, without emotion, life returns superficiality. But when the desire is deep, infused with faith and action, it becomes magnetic. That's exactly how I've seen so many people around me transform their lives. When they stopped just wanting and started to feel, act, and live as if it were already a reality. Science confirms this as well. Studies show that when you visualize a goal with a strong emotional charge, your brain activates the same areas as if you were already experiencing it. This practice creates an internal state of certainty, and from there, your actions become guided by that conviction. That's why we so often hear stories of people who seemed destined for failure, but who, through the power of desire, overcame unimaginable obstacles and achieved extraordinary feats. I've seen how real this is myself. In those moments when everything seemed uncertain, it was burning desire that kept me moving forward. And little by little, what once seemed distant began to take shape before my eyes. Because when desire is true, it becomes fuel. It doesn't let you give up, even when logic screams that there's no way out. It pushes you forward, transforms fear into courage, doubt into persistence, and obstacles into stepping stones. Now reflect. What is that desire you've kept hidden within you, but perhaps set aside because it seems too grand or impossible? If it still lives in your heart, it's because it's asking to be realized. This desire wasn't placed within you by chance, it's a calling. And when you embrace it with all your energy without reservation, you connect to the same power that guided Edison, that guided so many successful people, and that guided me too. It's this power that transforms dreams into reality. The key isn't just wanting, but feeling as if you already have it. That's the difference between merely desiring something and truly attracting it into your life. When I close my eyes and see myself living the life I want, the house I always imagined, the freedom of time and natural flow of money coming in, I don't treat it as fantasy. I breathe in this state as if it were my present reality. I feel the weight of that experience in my body. I allow every detail to be lived now. And when I repeat this exercise every single day, my vibration transforms. And it's inevitable that the world around me begins to align with this new internal pattern. But none of this happens without a firm decision. I had to reach a point where I told myself, I will never again live below my potential. That decision was a turning point. As long as I believed I could still accept less, that's exactly what I received. It was only when I declared with clarity that I would no longer accept crumbs, that I began to open space for real abundance. And here's the detail few people realize. Life doesn't respond to what you say, it responds to what you vibrate. If doubt, fear, or insecurity still exist within you, that's what will be reflected. I've seen many people spend their entire lives waiting for something external to happen so they can change. A new job, a promotion, a stroke of luck. But what transforms everything is the internal decision, because it immediately changes the way you act, speak, and position yourself. When you make up your mind, you start to live as if you already have what you desire. Your choices change, your demeanor changes, your conversations change. It's as if you begin to occupy a different place in the world. That's exactly how it was with me. When I decided I would think and act like a prosperous person, Even without yet seeing the money in my bank account, my reality began to respond. I noticed opportunities that had previously seemed invisible. I met people who led me to new paths. Ideas that seemed improbable began to make sense. The secret wasn't in struggling harder, but in aligning my mind with what I wanted to live. And that's why, if this message resonates with you, I want you to do something now. Click like and subscribe to the channel. This simple gesture isn't just one click, it's a symbolic act of decision. It's you telling yourself, I choose this path, I choose this new vibration, I choose not to live below my potential anymore. This commitment to yourself is the first step for transformation to begin. Remember, life never waits to be perfect to change. It changes when you decide. You can continue carrying old paradigms, or you can choose to vibrate in alignment with the life you truly desire. The choice is yours. It always has been. And the faster you decide, the sooner you'll realize that what seemed distant was waiting for you all along. With each new perception, you open up space to see opportunities that have always been around you, but that only now become visible. And if this content resonated with you, share it with someone special who might benefit from this message. Perhaps that person is waiting for exactly this word to take the next step in their life. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I'll be waiting for you in the next video, where we'll continue together on this journey of evolution and abundance.